What's up, everybody? This is Nick, and you're joining us once again for a PUC podcast, a Pull Up a Chair podcast, the franchise podcast, or the Eric. As always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Eric, who helps me with words.
This is Eric.
Words sometimes. Eric is a literal wordsmith. He makes words in his spare time. Eric, what's a few words you made up today?
Well, I was trying to come up with a Canadian phraseology for a Zimbabwe, like a word from Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
That means to sit in a chair and spin. The Zimbabwe word is and the Canadian phraseology can't handle that, and so I called it your spinner.
Your spinner. I gotcha. Okay. Wow. That was a literal wordsmith. What is the word I'm looking for? It's not the franchise podcast.
That'd be a podcast about franchises.
Yes, it would be. It would be. What word? What is the word that I normally put in here, Eric? Flagship.
Flagship. Okay. You know, when you didn't say it, I was like, I know it's not the right word. I don't know what word it is, though. But yeah, franchise.
It is
franchise. You got me saying it. Flagship.
It is the friendship, the friendship of this network that we call Pull Up a Chair.
Well, if you want to franchise the flagship podcast, you can find us at Facebook and YouTube.com, but you can primarily tweet at us at Pull Up a Chair Pod. We can talk about franchising our podcast.
All right, well, have yourself a great day. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. Normally you end by saying that, so I was just really thrown off.
Just jumping on there because we know people have contacted us before.
Oh, yeah, they want to
use our name.
They want to do the Pull Up a Chair. Like those kids at that school.
Yeah, well,
they contacted us to ask if they could make a podcast, which never happened. I'm going to hunt those little jerks down and give them a stern talking to.
Yep.
But... well, Eric, what do you want to talk about today? What do we got going on?
What do I want to talk about?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? You looked at me today and you said, Nick, there's one thing that I want to talk about that's been on my heart for a little while. Do you remember what that was? Do you remember what you said to me?
I said, Nick.
With those tears in your eyes?
Well, yeah, with tears falling down my cheeks. Mm-hmm. My shirt had just been drenched in tears as I said, Nick, please, Nick, let us talk about one thing, the most valuable thing in my life, the thing that has given my life so much purpose and meaning, that has directed me and showed me how to be a man, a father, who had shown me how to conquer my fears. This one thing, let us please,
that's right.
Nick, let us talk about it.
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony. Yes, that is it.
And after you said that, I slapped you across the face and I said, no. And I said, pick yourself up and be a man. Because we're going to talk about PAC-MAN.
And I said, thank you. I was like, thank you, Nick.
I did you a service, sir.
You did.
But today we wanted to talk about, for no really other particular reason than I watched I kind of watched a documentary on records and that sort of thing, and they brought up a record of a game that I liked as a kid called PAC-MAN. And I asked you, I said, Eric, would you mind if we did a show on it? And you were all for it.
I said, sure. I played Pac-Man.
And so today we're going to talk a little bit about Pac-Man. I mean, we may not go the full 30 minutes with it because I'm not what you call a Pac-Man enthusiast, but I enjoyed the game.
I did too. It was so prolific in our early childhood.
It was. It was. I mean, it came out in what year did that come out, Eric?
1980.
Was it 1980 exactly?
I believe so. Let's see here.
It was.
So
it was originally released in Japan in July of 1980, and then in North America here in October 1980.
That's October 9th. Okay. Well, I was actually more curious when it came out on the Atari 2600.
Okay,
Because that is where I played it, and Pac-Man was released for the Atari 2600 in 1982. I was only 3 then. I was only 3 by 1982. But when, I don't know where my family got an Atari, it was given to us. No idea where it came from. But that was one of the games that came with it was Pac-Man. And I remember sitting and playing Pac-Man along with Pong and Frogger. And what was that other game? The one with the guy that swings on the ropes.
You're talking about Pitfall, sir.
Pitfall. Yeah, Pitfall. Which would never beat Pitfall. So
there was an ending to Pitfall?
Yeah, I think you could get to the end and beat it. It was very, very difficult.
I didn't know there was an actual ending to that
I may
game.
be wrong. However, but getting back to Pac-Man, I played... It's one of those games, like, the more you play it, the better you get. But the moment you stop playing, you lose your ability, and you almost have to start over next time you pick it up. I could never, personally, I could never get past very many levels in Pac-Man. I've heard of people who memorized the patterns of the ghosts and understood their movements so they could get through the levels, because they apparently had pretty set paths if you didn't get near them. I don't totally sure if that's true.
Well, we'll actually talk about that because
I'm very interested in it.
The 4 ghosts were programmed differently.
Yes. Yeah, they all had different personalities, we'll say.
Right. So here's the deal. I'll go ahead and first of all, do you remember the names?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Of the ghosts.
Gleemo, Spiff.
You're close. You're nailing them.
Gorger bird.
Okay, but I think that's the word you made up for.
That's the German
hamburger.
Burgermeister is a interesting one I heard recently. Let's see here. I don't know. I know I've heard those names before.
Blinky Pinky.
Yeah.
Inky. And then Clyde.
Clyde. Okay. Sounds great.
Clyde was, of course, the just strange child of the group. But originally, there was obviously this game came out in Japan.
What?
Yes. The red one was called Oikake.
Oikake.
I'm sure I'm nailing these, which translates out to chaser.
Okay.
Pink one was Makabuse.
Okay.
Ambusher. I'm sure anybody that knows Japanese out there is probably just...
They're probably thanking you.
Yeah, they're probably like, finally, somebody completely
understands our language.
This.
Yes.
Then Kimaguru. Yeah, sure. Fickle. And then Otoboke? Feigned ignorance.
Feigned ignorance.
I hope I did not, in Japanese, somehow offend anyone, that I mispronounced that and it's somehow a cuss word. But to kind of give you an idea, so those were the names, Inky Pinky and Clyde, or Inky Pinky, Inky and Clyde. So Blinky was red, Pinky was pink, Inky was blue, and then Clyde was the orange one. So each one had their own personality, their own way they were programmed. The red ghost chases you. The pink ghost just positions itself in a set way. Blue tries to ambush you from behind. And then orange is kind of random. He kind of goes all over the map. So I found that interesting that they took the time to give each one of these ghosts its own personality.
That's interesting.
Especially for a 1980s game.
Yeah, I wonder how the logic was designed in that. It was probably fairly simple logic structures that did that. Just a couple statements, ifs, or some sort of conditioning statement saying, if it's this, you do this movement, or this guy will do this movement. And they could just have a couple different states that they look at, and based on the states, they could make different conclusions. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
it didn't sound very difficult. It's probably fairly simple to do, but it was nice that they took that time. Otherwise, their decision making would be based, if they all have the same decision making, it would be based on positioning, and since they all had to start in a different position on the map then. Whereas they don't, they start inside the ghost house, right? They start in that middle ghosty housey area.
Yeah, that I don't know what that's supposed to be, but yes.
Yeah, so they could start in a centralized area. Or it had to be done with some sort of number generation, which would probably be nerfed pretty quickly.
And Pac-Man, of course, starts like a little ways below them in the middle. And then, so I've learned a little bit. I kind of read the history of this character. He was actually created by a man by the name of Toru Iwatani.
Okay.
And the story goes that he was eating pizza one day, and he kind of looked down and saw the shape, and, you know, because the piece was missing, and that's how he came up with the character.
Okay. Makes sense.
They were wanting, the company he worked for, Namco, was wanting something that was different at the time. They were looking for something that was different than a shooter. Because games like Space Invaders were popular. They were wanting something that was different than a shooter, which was what was popular. And so he came up with this character. Now, the story about the pizza, apparently, according to him, is only half true. He actually goes on to say that the character in Japanese for Munch is kind of a squared off thing, and then he rounded it out to make Pac-Man.
Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to go look up the Japanese, I'm assuming it's kanji. Munch.
Yes.
Kanji. I spelled kanji wrong. On accident. It's like I have a mic in front of me blocking my way.
I'm sorry, I take that back. It wasn't Munch, it was Mouth.
Mouth.
It has more recently said that the Pac-Man character is also a simplification of the kanji character for Mouth. Coochie is, which I guess it's Coochie or whatever. The Munch was how he got his name, because originally his name was it's Paku or Puck is a word used for munching. And so in Japan, his name is Munchman.
Munchman.
However, and you and I talked about this off mic, but they had to change, when it came to America, they had to change the name to Pac-Man because street hoodlums would... Ne'er-do-wells would scratch out part of the P to make it an F. And so Puck-Man would become the F-word man.
Well, that sounds like the doing of ne'er-do-wells and those of the same caliber. So that's interesting. I mean, localizations of international games and movies is a interesting
It kind of way, yeah. I mean, the way they do those things, the things they have to take into consideration is what's fascinating to me. The other reason this character was made is they were hoping it would actually be something that would draw in female gamers.
Oh, really?
Yes. I haven't found anything that talks about the logic. Maybe it's just because it wasn't a shooter.
Okay.
It was something that was different. But, I mean, people jokingly say that because he figured it out when he was eating pizza, women like to eat. You know, that's the joke that people are making online. But I haven't really figured out any reason why the idea was that this would attract a women women to the gaming world.
Okay. I mean, I don't know the culture of the time in the 80s and gaming in Japan. It's not my area of expertise by any means, but I can see that. I mean, it's simple, it's strategic. It's more of a, easy. It's kind of an easygoing game. It does get stressful the further along you get, very quickly.
Oh yes, definitely. I will. Now, can you guess how many levels there are in the game?
I always didn't think it had a level. I thought it just changed the speed of the ghosts. Or that's what it felt like to me. It's like felt like they just got faster or more difficult to manage. So I thought it was one of those infinitely scaling games that just had a variable or something that set a difficulty level which used for speed or AI, the ghosts, how well they moved. But how many does it have?
Well, it actually does have a final ending point.
Okay, as a cap?
At 255 levels.
Oh, 255. That's because the max length of 8-bit? What's that the max length of?
I think it also changes colors as it goes along.
Yeah, 255 8-bit. It's a max of 8 bits. That's the highest number 8 bits can hold. I think.
Well, I think you're right, because whenever you get to 256, apparently half the screen becomes jumbled, and of course you can't play at that point.
Yeah,
it's impossible. It's impossible to go anywhere.
It pushes the memory down one spot, so everything gets corrupted.
So with that, the highest possible score is 3,333,360 points. And a man by the name of Billy Mitchell actually finished the game with a perfect game back in 1999.
Wow. That's 19 years after it came out. Someone perfected the game. That's a pretty good long, especially coming through that's some longevity.
That is.
What game is still played today? Today's 2019. Is there a game from the year 2000 that is still heavily played to perfection? I mean, there's some games that are probably played, but they're still worked on. I don't know when WoW came out exactly, and some of those StarCraft original, I think it came out in the 90s.
Counter-Strike is still kind of played.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think there's anything... I mean, because even Pac-Man's still played today.
Yes.
A lot of those Atari games are just classics. I don't know that there's ever going to be, except for like Super Mario or something like that, I don't know that there's ever going to be like what you would call like a classic enduring game like this. And part of that may be because we don't really have arcades anymore. Yeah. That's what made a lot of these games legendary, is that you could go to an arcade and other people would be watching you. And yeah, I mean, people kind of do that with Twitch nowadays, but most gaming is done by yourself. Yeah. In a room, or maybe online. But that's a big difference. Is a lot of these games became iconic because you would see them wherever you went.
Yeah, you would see them everywhere. In fact, it got to the point for me, by the time the mid 80s, when I was going to arcades and going and doing that stuff, like going to Pizza Hut or Pizza Place, and they had the table Pac-Man.
Right.
Two player.
You mean Table Miss Pac-Man?
Table Miss Pac-Man.
We'll get to the spin-offs here later, but yes, I remember that.
So, but that was my thing. I actually had a hard time by that time even finding original Pac-Man. So I kept finding the alternatives, especially one of them.
I got you.
One of them became very popular.
Yes.
So
let me just, I need to make a caveat here real quick. When I mentioned Billy Mitchell, there has been some controversy with a lot. He set a bunch of records like in Donkey Kong and things like that. And there's actually a pretty good documentary about him, which is the one I watched, which made me...
Oh, really? That's what you watched?
Yes.
Okay.
He got caught setting a record by using emulation.
Oh, so he could kind of fool it.
Yeah, like he wasn't using an actual to set the records. You have to use an actual arcade cabinet, and his cabinet wasn't. Somebody used a computer to show that he had cheated.
Oh, okay.
So, and of course, there's still people. He's still fighting that and that sort of thing, but he got stripped of all of his records and that sort of thing. So we've talked about kind of Pac-Man and kind of what it was about, the 255 levels. There was actually something else I wanted to bring up. The guy that actually came up with Pac-Man didn't make much money off of it.
Oh, interesting. It's very much like the guy that came up with Tetris.
Yeah. He didn't make much money off of it because, as he says here, he was just working for a company. And he got credit for it, but he didn't get... The company is the one that put out the machine. And,
yeah.
And originally the team that worked on it it was him and 3 other people. And so, I mean, it's pretty impressive that they were able to make this very enduring game that has really stood the test of time. So, and in Japan, it got changed here, but originally instead of pellets, there were cookies. Power cookies.
I noticed that. Here we had the little round. They're round, and then the big power, the big ones that give you the power to eat the ghosts. They're all round, but I was looking at some of the artwork. There were dashes, and I was like, "Oh, they're dashes. I've never seen that. That's different." So they're cookies. Cookies. Yes. Okay, I guess I don't know why that makes sense or not, but I mean the round ones always kind of freaked me out because I'm like, is he eating like babies of himself?
No, I don't. I never knew what they were. I just thought they were flashing pellets. I mean, they were all like the smaller ones were always solid, but this one, those always flashed in the corners. I didn't know that there was any kind of lore behind it. I just kind of, whatever. It was supposed to be power cookies.
PAC dots is what they call them here in the U.S. PAC dots.
PAC dots, yes.
Including 4 roving multicolored ghosts. I'm trying to figure out if the big ones had a name. I'm sure someone's out there going, it's called this. I'm like, obviously it's called something. It's probably
and if
common.
You can yell at your podcast thing and say, hey, it's called this, that means you've played way too much of this game.
Yeah.
And you know too much of the lore.
Well, you might know it if you watched any of the anime. Yes, they make Pac-Man anime to this day. Well, I think a series ended recently. There's a Pac-Man 2014. I think it ended at a max of 52 episodes, so it probably took 2 or 3 years to go through. And so it probably just ended, maybe 2 years ago? So there was a recent Pac-Man anime series in Japan. I had a little bit of it going earlier. It looked horrible. It's made for children. It's a children's anime, very kiddie friendly. It's very colors, that 3D animation that Disney does a lot for children's shows. It's like everything's 3-dimensional. It's very rounded and not a lot of edges. Everything's kind of rounded. Feels weird. Personally, don't enjoy the animation style.
Well, I do need to share one little last bit of trivia about our good friend Pac-Man here, about the game. But I have forgotten what it is. There was something on the top of my head, but I have forgotten now what it is because, well, I kind of got distracted by what you were saying, Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was speaking.
You brought no. You brought a good bit of information that got me thinking about something else, but it'll come back to me, and I'll share it here in a moment. It was just something that kind of whatever it is that stood out to me when I was kind of reading about all this. But let's move on to what you brought up. You brought up the table.
Oh yeah.
The one that many feel has. Oh, and that's what it was. Pac-Man was one of the first ones that did cutscenes between the levels. Every once in a while, you'd get to these little scenes where Pac-Man would be running from a ghost or something like that. And the guy that created it, I'm not going to try to butcher his name again, but he called them coffee breaks. And the company tried to talk him out of it, and to keep him from doing those. And he pushed and pushed for him, and they made him into the game. And those
are great though.
Yeah, those have kind of become a staple of the game.
Yeah,
and moving on to Miss Pac-Man, the one that you and I have talked about before. Miss Pac-Man, it changed the formula a bit. Miss Pac-Man was created by Midway, which was the same company authorized to sell the original Pac-Man in the U.S.
Okay.
Miss Pac-Man actually consisted of 4 different levels. It had a variety of levels, and it would just change the colors of the levels. And it had it had 4 different mazes with varying numbers of dots compared to Pac-Man's only one with 240 dots. So Miss Pac-Man, it would change the number of dots. It would...
So different maze layouts?
Different maze layouts.
Okay.
And instead of Clyde, the orange ghost was named Sue.
Why?
I don't... Because for a female name, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know either.
The other names you could translate either way. Inky, Pinky, and Blinky can all be translated. I mean, those aren't necessarily girl or boy. But Clyde's pretty much, it's pretty much a guy's name.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that it changed up so much. And arguably, people have said that they think that Miss Pac-Man surpassed the original Pac-Man in terms of popularity.
Oh, well, I'll say this. By the mid-'80s, like I said, when I was looking for the games, I would always find Miss Pac-Man. That's what I would find. I would not be able to find any of the other ones. Pac-Man Jr. occasionally, I guess. But mostly Miss Pac-Man absolutely everywhere. And I always wanted to play the original because everyone talked about it so much. But I don't know why. I'm curious why that is, that Miss Pac-Man became so prevalent in comparison with Pac-Man. Does it like given... I mean, also seeing Pac-Man Jr. was cool too, because I didn't see him a ton. But I would go around and I'd always look for the Pac-Man machine when we saw it in the arcade or went anywhere, and it was always Miss Pac-Man because I was like, I played it. I wanted to play any of the other ones.
I don't know what made it, but I have a theory. I think it went on to be I think it was because of the variety. The variety, basically, it gave different challenges.
Yeah.
And they, like they said, they'd add pellets or they'd take away pellets versus the 240. Now, I will say, I remember Miss Pac-Man. I do remember I went back and I watched some of the cutscenes from... Like, you can look them up on YouTube, but you can look at some of the cutscenes from the original Pac-Man.
Yeah?
I more remember the Miss Pac-Man cutscenes.
Okay. I mean, you probably didn't see the Pac-Man machine as much.
No, I don't think I did. By 1980, of course, I was a baby at that point. But, especially if Miss Pac-Man was made by Midway, which is an American company, it would be...
That makes more sense, yeah. Midway, held a bigger stake probably in it. So
that's the one they would basically give away.
Yes.
or send out, and it's logical to think that they put that out there. But I remember the cutscenes, like the first one is them both running across the screen, running away from ghosts, and then they come together and they go up, and the two ghosts hit each other, and like a heart forms above them.
Yes. And
I don't remember what the second one was, but I think the third one, and the one that kept repeating itself, would be you'd see them waiting outside, and a stork would drop a bundle, and it'd be a baby Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man Jr.
Right.
Yes, I remember that.
Because drawing a Miss Pac-Man giving birth would be inappropriate.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the other thing is, if they're eating pellets, I like I said, are they eating their own kind? Because they're round, and maybe they're eating like infants. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. There's nothing to it. I don't know, man.
I will say there is a song that you and I need to look up.
Okay.
It's called Pac-Man Fever. It was a song that hit number 9 on Billboard's Hot 100 chart for whatever year it came out. I don't know what year that was, but whatever year it was, it hit the number 9. Really quickly, we're running out of time here. I don't want to continue this one overly long, but my friend, there were a number of spin-offs of Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I'm going to list some.
Okay.
You tell me if it is or isn't a legitimate Pac-Man property. Okay, well, you obviously know Ms. Pac-Man.
And Pac-Man Jr.
Okay. Pac-Man Super Duper.
Pac-Man Super Duper? Yes.
No.
Oh, dang it. It sounds great.
Pac-Man Plus.
Yeah, that's one.
Super Pac-Man.
Super Pac-Man? I mean, it's very super. I'd assume it's late 80s if it is. Very like Super Mario Brothers. So, yeah, I'll go with that. Probably competition.
Yes, 1982, actually.
Oh, 82 is super? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Here's one. Baby Pac-Man.
Where's a Pac-Man Jr., so why not a baby Pac-Man? No, I'm going to say no.
Yes.
Yes, there was?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Judge Pac-Man.
Judge, like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a judge behind a
podium.
I don't think he's like. I don't picture him
judge,
as
jury, and executioner.
Stallone, like I am the law. Although that was weirdly Arnold. Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Judge Pac-Man. But it sounds so strange. It has to be true.
No.
Did you come up with that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But Professor Pac-Man.
Professor Pac-Man?
Yes.
Oh man.
What I love is
I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm guessing every time. Professor Pac-Man? I mean, I can see him making something like that because we had like Dr. Mario.
Right.
So, but also I know you know Mario, and you could just be like, okay, Professor instead of Doctor, or PhD candidate Pac-Man.
Yeah, I like that. Defend what you're doing in this game is you're defending your thesis from the ghosts. The ghosts are your doctorate board.
Professor Pac-Man again. I want to say yes to all of them because that's just my natural inclination. No.
Yes.
Dang it.
Actually, yes. There's one.
Pac-Man.
1983.
83?
Yeah.
Have you even got past 83 in any of these? Like,
no.
Are you just going straight down the line?
Yeah, basically. But I'm just going to run through these.
Just
go.
Okay,
because, I mean, they just crapped them out for a while. Pac and Pal, 1983. Junior Pac-Man, 1983. Pac-Land, 1984. Pac-Mania, 1987. And then that was it, basically. We were done after that. I mean, they just kind of were putting these things out for
about capitalizing on your kind of property there.
Well, see, that's my deal. Is I'm wondering if a lot of these had to be like Midway being like, we're just putting these things out. Because, I mean, literally Junior Pac-Man, if you remember, you and I kind of talked about this before, was literally the same Pac-Man sprite, but it had a beanie with a propeller on.
Yes.
If you remember that. I mean, now there is one here in 1996 that's Pac-Man VR. I would very much like to know what that was about. And then there's one called Pac-Man Battle Royale.
Has that got to be from like the last 3 years?
That was 2011.
A little bit ahead of its time for the Battle Royale genre, which is like crazy around 14 and 15.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the Fortnite of Pac-Man games.
Is it like Slither.io where you consume other Pac-Mans to get bigger?
I have no earthly idea. I can't. Let's see. Up to 4 players compete at once, choosing a game length of between 3 to 9 rounds. Each player controls a differently colored Pac-Man. A single player faces one computer-controlled Pac-Man opponent. The players move throughout a maze, avoiding ghosts and attempting to eat dots and power pellets scattered throughout. New dots and pellets appear whenever the players eat them all. In addition, if any player eats a bonus item that appears next to the ghost cage, all remaining dots or pellets are immediately removed and replaced. Let's see. Actually, I kind of remember this. When a Pac-Man eats a power pellet, he grows in size and can eat ghosts and any unpowered Pac-Man until the pellet wears off. During this time, the unpowered Pac-Man turn blue but retain an outline of the original color. They cannot eat ghosts.
Okay.
I remember the only thing I remember about this game is the huge Pac-Man. For some reason, I remember this. Either that or I'm remembering it from one of the other 15, like Professor Pac-Man or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love the story we came up with for Professor Pac-Man. It's actually you defending your thesis from
Blinky,
Ghost.
Inky, Stinky.
And Clyde is back,
Yeah,
and
Clyde.
he, of course, is the one you really have to...
Yeah, he's the one you have to convince. He's
really convince. He's a jerk.
Yeah,
Nobody has ever liked Clyde.
He didn't like your research topic.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah.
He's orange, much like OSU and Texas, and nobody likes those.
Nobody likes that color.
So, all right, my friend. Well, I think we have substantially... I mean, once again, this is one of those topics I'm sure we could spend multiple podcasts on talking about all the different iterations and, direction it went. But I think we've done a pretty good job talking about our good friend, Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac Dude's pretty cool.
Pac Dude is pretty cool. Well, you've already told them where they can find us.
I want to remind them.
Oh, Eric, why don't you remind them? You know what, Eric? Power yourself up with a power pellet, or I'm sorry, power cookie. And tell them where they can find us.
Well, waka waka waka. Is that the sound it makes?
Yeah. Waka 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 waka.
You can find us all over the internet. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. Just search for Pull Up a Chair Podcast. You can find us on Twitter. You can add us at Pull Up a Chair Pod. You can find us on all the podcasting apps. If you find one you cannot find us on, I dare you. And tweet me if you find one we're not on. And otherwise, I will not believe you. Tweet me what it is, and I'll go search, because I guarantee you we're there already. Other than that, we have our own website, puckpodcast.website, pucpodcast.website. Why website? Because. And that's about it. Nick.
Eric, you know what? You can take that to the bank, people, because that is an Eric guarantee. I also want to very quickly tell you a few other ghosts that appear in some of those games. We got Kinky the Ghost.
Okay, that sounds weird.
He's a golden yellow ghost. He appears in Pac-Man arrangement. You got Orson, or Talkman, a greenish gray ghost that appears in Pac World, which we didn't even talk about, which is a weird looking game. I'm just going to run down these names and not even bother telling you where they're from. You can look these up. You ready? Here we go. Spooky, Ghost Witch of Netor. Funky. Ghost Witch of Netor, by the way, is the leader of the Ghost Gang and the main antagonist of the Pac-Man 2. So, Pac-Man 2, the new adventure. Funky, Spunky, Sue, Tim, Yum Yum, Lord Betrayus, Butler, Butt-Lur.
That's a funny one.
Dr. Buttocks, these are all ones from different games and different things. So, you know what? There's a lot more to discuss and unpack here in the PAC verse, but we don't have time for that. So, you know what? Get out there and teach yourself. I mean, we can show you how to pack, but we can teach you how to pack, and you'll pack for a lifetime. Think about that. Have a great day.
Bye.